turbulent times, obviously, for the company. You know, what everyone's wondering is how the company moves forward from this.
I think that there's a very strong management team. I've been with the company from day one when it was first built out here and in Las Vegas. I've got Wynn Hotels in my DNA, in my blood, and I can the management, the people that work at Wynn have been there for many, many years, and many new people as well. People work at Wynn; they don't like to leave, and so I think that in general, I'm not concerned. The thing is to get beyond this media circus that has happened the last few days and really bring stability back to the company, which we have, at least here in Macau. Wynn Macau is, most people are very busy. I just was in Macau on Friday working with, having meetings with the management, and everybody's at ease now and they know what job they have to do. Chinese New Year coming up, which is the busiest time in Macau, and everybody's gearing up for that.
Times have been good. I mean, we've really seen a recovery in the industry from the depths, I guess, back about 2 years ago. You know, one of the issues that was brought up, and this might be a fairly simplistic question, is the name of the company. And I think it was Moody's which came out with one of its statements, and I think we do have that for our viewers just to see them. And just to simplify this, you know, Steve Wynn is Wynn.
Yes.
Have there been any conversations about changing the name or a similar sort of dynamics when it comes to this issue?
I think not at this point. I think basically this is kind of like a death in the family. Something like just happened. I think that if it really, we find that it really affects business, and there'll probably be more in Las Vegas in the U.S. than out here. Out here, generally, from what I see is that, you know, in China, gaming advertising is banned. And so the average punter that comes to Macau, really, they are not so aware of they know the name on a hotel. All the hotels are basically the same. It's the clothes, you know, the way the hotel's put together. So that's how they come to a different hotel. And so I think in general, out here, it's very different than in the U.S.
Alan, you talked about how a strong leadership is in place. What do you view as the biggest challenges for Maddox going forward? I mean, there are also challenges, regulatory probes, as well as possible takeover approaches as well. As chairman of the company, non-executive chairman of the company, what do you view as the biggest challenges?
I think the biggest challenges is really to bring stability to the staff. It's about the guest experience. People come to hotels because they really enjoy the place, they enjoy the ambiance, and it's really bringing stability to the company. It's up to the board and up to the leadership, the chairman, the CEO, really to drive that and think about the competition and think about all the other things that you face every day in business. This is just an added distraction, but I think, as I say, with a strong management team, and everyone's been there basically from the beginning, so I think there's a pretty good team that will work together to get through any of these problems that everybody faces.
Do you expect Steve Wynn's departure to impact the Macau business, whether in the short, medium, or long term?
Honestly, not really, because, as I say, people that come to Macau are mostly 98% are from China, and the Chinese come for a day or 2 days. They stay at a hotel, they enjoy themselves, and they go back to China, and they have their fun, and they go back to China. So I really don't see any great impact out here in Macau. And Macau is almost 75% of the business, of the profit, as you've seen from the figures. And so in general, I'm pretty confident about the company out here.
Do you envision a situation where Steve Wynn will have to divest his shares in the company?
Anything's possible. It's just early days at the moment. Depends what happens with Boston and the U.S. You know, I think they don't allow anything over 5%, possibly. So, I mean, these things might come up, but again, it depends. We're in early days today, and so it's not really something that's been discussed at this moment.
Just to pivot here, Alan, just have a look at the sort of longer-term prospects of the business. I mean, about 2 weeks ago, there were reports that came out that China is looking to legalize
Yes.
gambling in Hainan, which is not
Yes.
very far away from where we are. I know a lot of this comes down to the details and the licensing and the licenses that do come out from that. But I mean, is that an existential threat to Macau, seeing that most of your clientele are from the mainland anyway?
But, you know, for the last 3 years, every 6 months, there are unidentified sources that come out with that Beijing is looking at legalizing gambling and legalizing it in Hainan. Well, I saw that report. It was actually a Bloomberg report which came out. And I checked with some of my sources in Hainan if there was any truth or if they had heard anything. And these are pretty high up. And in general, they told me, forget it. But this comes out. I've been asked that so many times. Listen, at some point, is it possible? Anything's possible. China's changing so dramatically. It's opening up so much, and people are traveling. Cultures change, taste changes, but
Right.
I don't see it around the corner. And if they do, they said something about maybe through lottery or online gaming or that kind of thing. I don't see them opening hotels and kind of legalized gaming. It's against the culture for the moment.
The licensing issue, though, is alive and well
Yes.
in Macau. That's
Yes.
coming up as well.
Yes,
Do you think
2020 and 2022.
2022. Is there any indication from the government how they plan to approach that? I mean, are you guys getting a little bit more uncomfortable? Is it affecting your CapEx plans, just in case?
I think, in general, all operators at the moment are waiting anxiously for the government to come out with the way forward. The one thing I know about governments, Macau government's been very fair with all the operators, always been a great employer of choice. And I think, in general, the community's waiting for the way forward from the government. I think government's working on the plan, and I'm sure as soon as they have it, it'll come out, and then everybody will be in the same position. You know, the most important thing for governments, they like stability, keeping keeping jobs. We have over 13,000 local people working at Wynn at the moment in Macau. And so it's really, you know, government really does not want to destabilize the jobs, and 13,000 people also times 3 families or 4, you know, so it's a lot of people, a lot of mouths to feed. And Wynn has always been the employer of choice for most people. I was talking to some of the staff when I was there on Friday, and they have big face because they work at Wynn. And most people, when they get into Wynn, they don't want to leave. It's always been a great place for people to work.
Alan, there's so much optimism. The question really is whether the Chinese high rollers have returned for good after the crackdown that we saw from the government 2 years ago.
Well, Heslinda, you can see the numbers. You know, even January, the numbers were up, I think, 36% in general for Macau. I think as long as China continues to do well, which it has, I'm in China almost every week. We have a lot of businesses in China. And I'm pretty confident that I don't see China slowing down at the moment, not under the leadership that they have, and I think it'll just continue. And so as long as you have that, Macau will continue to do very well because that's the majority of the business.
But a lot of the investors have lost money. I mean, we saw the global rout last week, and China was among the biggest losers. Do you expect that to be translated into the gambling business at some point, that your business could be impacted?
Listen, you know, markets, they go up and down on rumors. When the Hainan rumor came out, you of all people know that. This is your business. And so we don't worry. As long as you have a good product, as long as there's money around, you can be sure that that Macau will do very well. And with the government support, Macau is changing so rapidly. We have a bridge between Hong Kong and Macau that will be open the middle of this year. It'll be a half hour on the bridge from Hong Kong to Macau. That'll also change. You don't have to take the ferry anymore. You don't have to take helicopters. The XRL, the high-speed rail, also coming from Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Hong Kong, also will help. So the interconnection will really make Macau their life much easier. So I'm pretty confident about the future of Macau.
Help clarify something. for us here, Alan. So some analysts have pointed out that specifically Wynn Macau is a bit more too reliant, perhaps, on VIP. And there have been also some sources that have told us that the government might not be too happy with the non-gaming development part of the business. Are you looking to rectify that? And I guess, are there any truths to those reports?
One thing I can tell you, don't listen to sources, because from what I know, I can tell you that in general, the government's always been very proud of the hotels that we have built. The Wynn Palace is probably one of the finest hotels in the world at the moment. And it truly is, not because I'm connected with Wynn, but it's just a pleasure to go there. And we're always looking at new technology, new things that are coming up, AR, VR, all these new words that millennials like. And so you constantly have to be changing and upgrading in all markets, including your own. And so this is something that we're always looking at, and we've got a good team. And so I think, as I say, the government's always been very proud, and I'm pretty confident that they're happy having us there.
Very quickly, Chinese New Year is coming up. Are you full?
We're more than full. We wish we had another hotel right now. It's very good.